David Pakman over the David Pakman Show was taking some phone calls, and he got into why Trump and Hillary ended up winning despite being so disliked.
How did it happen that two such disliked people ended up as the nominees? Well, I think the answer is different, Lewis, on the Republican side than on the Democratic side. I think on the Republican side, Donald Trump took advantage of sort of dormant authoritarianism, nativism, and the ability to coalesce low information voters with very simple language at a time when the Republican Party is in a sort of crisis state.
Add to that the celebrity factor.
And the celebrity factor. So I think that on the Republican side, that's why you're getting that. Very highly liked by those who support him, very strongly disliked by just about everybody else. On the Democratic side, I think the dynamics were different. You had someone who in 2008 went for it and didn't quite get it, and as we now know, was working together with the Democratic National Committee to essentially be crowned the nominee. When you have such an effort, wall-to-wall effort, by such major, we're talking about a major organization in the DNC and a lot of money, it led to that in spite of the fact that individually many people still don't like Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, that's all true. So first of all, when you talk about Donald Trump, here's why he won. He portrayed himself as anti-establishment. He called out Jeb Bush, he called out Marco Rubio, he called out everybody and said, "What, are you puppets? I think you're puppets of the donors. I see where you're getting your funding from. No, this is terrible. I'll fix that. No more. Sad. Puppets of donors." So he would hit corruption. He'd hit money in politics. He portrayed himself as against the TPP and against outsourcing deals, even though he personally outsourced jobs everywhere. But he positioned himself as, I'm the guy who's going to fight for the average Joe. All these other people are bought, and look at them, they're goofballs. So you mix the anti-establishment factor with the fact that he doesn't talk like a polished, fake-ass politician. I mean, he's a loser, and he's a weirdo, and he's an arrogant prick, but anything is better than that fake politician persona that we're all so used to and we all hate so much. So it's those two things, and then also, yes, mixed with, you sprinkle in some xenophobia and some bigotry, and Donald Trump is more straightforward about it than others who've been coded about it in the past in the Republican Party, and that's something that the base really likes. People forget, man, historically, that is a powerful message in any country, especially when times are rough. If you sprinkle in xenophobia and bigotry, and you get the majority in the country all riled up over that, and then you also add in some populist rhetoric, that's all a lot of people in the country could ask for, and that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing. And also, the competition was just pathetically bad. Marco Rubio has the personality of a dirty diaper. Jeb Bush, we don't even have a conversation about Jeb Bush. He's basically the human form of granola. Listening to him talk is like watching paint dry. Ted Cruz is a smarmy Christian theocrat. Guy, obviously wants to turn the United States into the Christian Saudi Arabia. And everything he says is so calculated and fake. Me, Ted Cruz, me. So they're just deeply unlikable. And as unlikable as Trump is, people go, at least there's that element of straight shooter. Even though, in my opinion, it's just he's a fake straight shooter because he lies every other sentence that comes out of his fucking mouth. And that may be too fair of me to say every other sentence. All right, and then you move to Hillary Clinton, and yeah, David's right that it's, for Trump and Hillary, it's totally different. The two parties are totally different as to why we got such disliked candidates. In the case of Hillary Clinton, dude, she's coasting off of her name recognition and her celebrity status. So that's a big part of it. Everybody already knows who the fuck she is. She was Secretary of State. She was First Lady. She almost won the Democratic primary in 2008. And she had that mixed with the DNC, yes, doing some tricky bullshit behind the scenes and biasing the rules in her favor. Whether it's, for example, all the different primaries that were not open primaries. Now, that's actually slightly separate because it's state-by-state kind of thing going on there, but what happened is when you have open primaries and when you have independents who can vote and when you have same-day registration and stuff like that, Bernie Sanders was much more likely to do well. When you had closed primaries and you played with the registration rules where, like in my state, for example, in New York, 30 days or 60 days before you had to register in order to vote, When you do that, Hillary Clinton won overwhelmingly because Bernie Sanders does so well with independents. He does so well with millennials. But when you go just to partisan loyalist Democrats, obviously Hillary Clinton does better. So all these different things, they kind of biased it in her favor. You mix that with her celebrity status and coasting off a name recognition and going against somebody who started at 3% in the polls. And people forget, Bernie Sanders started at 3%, and in a very short amount of time, he ended up getting 46% of the vote. So she should just thank her lucky stars, because the more people get to know her, the more they dislike her. And Bernie is the opposite. So that's how we got two massively disliked candidates. And the final fact here, which actually says all of it, is only 9% of the country voted for Hillary and Donald Trump. 9% of the country. I've never seen a stronger argument for, like many other modern nations have, compulsory voting. Where they go, you know how, like, for jury duty, for example, you don't, like, nobody gets to say, I want to opt out of it. Like, you go in for the process, and then you could say something crazy, and they'll dismiss you and say, we don't want you on the case. Or you could give them excuses, whatever, I got to pick up my kid, I got a fucking pineapple stuck in my ass, and I got to go get surgery and get it out. Like, you can give them excuses, and they'll say, okay, fine. But jury duty, that's why it's called D-U-T-Y, jury duty, because you have to do it. So that's part of the country. But for some reason, when you bring up compulsory voting, mandatory voting, people go, come on, you're taking away people's freedom to choose to literally be idiots. The term idiot originally derived from people who were not involved with the political process. Yeah, whatever, just let them not do it. If we had mandatory voting like other modern nations have, I'd be willing to bet a lot of money that Bernie Sanders won, man. I would. But only 9% of the country voted in the primaries. That's another big reason why we got two massively disliked candidates.